guys, welcome back to the channel. So it's almost the 4th of July and I wanted to make a summer-friendly dessert recipe that was no bake. So I've been racking my brain and I've been thinking about those icebox cakes that we all had when we were a kid. And those are delicious, but I couldn't really think of a way to make them macro-friendly. So I came up with this mini no-bake cheesecake that today happens to be gluten-free. And I think you guys are really gonna like it. Okay, so you're gonna need a muffin tin. We're gonna be making 12 of these. So first, we're just gonna line the muffin tin with 12 cupcake liners. And we're gonna be using graham cracker as the base. Now, it's kind of hard to find vegan graham crackers, actually. The Nabisco original graham crackers are vegan, but they seem to be out of stock everywhere right now. So that's why this recipe is gluten-free today. So we're gonna be using the Knick gluten-free graham crackers. And they recently added to the label, may contain eggs, and we contacted the company and that's just, there might be processed on shared equipment. So if you're okay with that, these, I actually like them better than regular like Nabisco type of graham crackers because they're thicker. So we are going to be breaking these up and putting them into the bottom. So I'll use one that's not already broken. They have a line down the middle and we're gonna break it in half. And then each half, I'm gonna break it up into little pieces, so like 4 or 6 pieces, and just drop them in the bottom. So vanilla wafers would work really well for this also, but they're not vegan. And if you guys know of a vegan vanilla wafer, let me know. And you want to try to make sure most of the bottom is covered. As you can see, it's not going to be perfect, but these are going to suck up some of our cream cheese filling and get a bit softer. So this should take 6 crackers total. I thought about blending these up and putting them in the bottom, but I feel like it wouldn't hold together and the pieces on the very bottom wouldn't hold on to the cream cheese filling, and then you would just have a really crummy mess. So I know this looks a little haphazard right now, but when it's finished, it will all hold together. We're just gonna set this aside. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to making our filling, and you are gonna need a pretty decent blender for this. Even though the stuff we're blending is soft, it's kind of a lot. I'm just gonna take the blender cup and put it right on the scale and turn it on because I'm gonna be weighing some of these ingredients. So I'm gonna be using silken tofu here. This is a very, very soft tofu. It's really good for dressings, creams, sauces. So that's what we're gonna be using as the base, and I'm gonna use 600 grams. And you can pour the excess water off into the sink, which is what I do. Gonna open another package here. And the way that I like to do this is I literally just cut one corner and then go drain it into the sink. That just makes things a little bit less messy, I feel. And 420, 520, there we go. 600. Next, we're gonna be using tofutti cream cheese. You can use any kind of vegan cream cheese. This is far and away the most macro-friendly one out there, and I think that they got this right in the first place, and we should not mess with it. All right, so we're gonna use 180 grams of this stuff here. So that comes out to be about 3/4 of a package, I would say. Next, we're gonna use some vanilla extract, and I actually prefer to use an imitation vanilla extract for this particular recipe because it doesn't have alcohol in it. So the alcohol in vanilla extract, usually it bakes off when you cook it, but since we're not baking this, the imitation is better. And I used 3 teaspoons there. And then I don't have the container for this anymore, but this is the stevia in the raw, the baking mix. Comes in a bag. And essentially it's gram for gram or tablespoon for tablespoon, the same sweetness as sugar, supposedly. We're gonna use 3/4 of a cup of this. I'm just gonna dump that in. And I'm gonna blend it up until it is smooth and not lumpy. You guys see Giacomo's hand there? Okay. Okay, so the next ingredient, we're gonna add it to the blender, and this might surprise some of you guys. Jell-O sugar-free pudding mix is vegan. Now, it's vegan, but it does have some questionable ingredients here. So if you want to skip this, you absolutely can skip this. You can add a little bit more stevia, a little bit more vanilla, and also a tablespoon of cornstarch or tapioca starch. You can do that instead, But they have a cheesecake flavored sugar-free Jell-O pudding mix, and we are gonna use 24 grams of it, and I'm gonna add it after this mixture is already smooth. And the reason for that is, if I added it all together, because this is a thickener, it might seize the mixture up before it blends to be all the way smooth. So 24 grams going in. Okay, and I'm just gonna re-blend that. And whenever you're starting a blender with a whole bunch of stuff in it like this, just start it on low and gradually turn it up. Okay, so now comes our only cooking portion of the video. So we're gonna be using agar powder and soy milk, and I will see you guys at the stove. So we're gonna use a half a cup plus 2 tablespoons of soy milk, and I'm gonna pour it into the saucepan cold, and then 1 tablespoon of agar powder. And again, I'm gonna whisk it in there cold, and then I'm gonna turn the stove on. Because if you put the agar in hot liquid, it will begin to clump up right away. So I'm gonna use a whisk it in. Okay, now I'm gonna turn the oven on medium. I'm gonna let it start to bubble and cook for 3 minutes. So I'll stir it until it starts to bubble, and then once it bubbles, I'm gonna let it go for 3 minutes. But make sure that it's on medium, don't go higher than that because you'll scorch the soy milk. Okay, so it's bubbling away. I'm covering it. I don't want to disturb it, but you see it going. We have about 2 minutes left. Okay, so I have my pot, it's still steaming. I'm gonna turn my blender back on low, and we need to add this quickly before the agar starts to set. Okay, so this is our mixture, and before it starts to cool and set in there, we're gonna pour this into our cupcake tin. So I don't have an exact measurement for each of them, but they're filled about 3/4 of the way. It's kind of hard to keep neat. Just do your best. Or if you're eating them by yourself, who cares? Okay, so now I'm just gonna take a rubber spatula, or you could use the back of a spoon, and I'm just gonna try to flatten it out a little bit. And then the very last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna top them with strawberry topping here. This is Smucker's low sugar jam, not sugar-free jam. So this does not have artificial sweeteners in it, and I actually think it tastes just as good as regular strawberry jam. You could also just melt down some strawberries if you want, but they might not solidify as much as this is here. Because this has the pectin in it, and I'm gonna do about a tablespoon on top of each one. You could use a different kind of jam if you wanted to as well. You could use, you know, that canned apple pie type of filling, not with apples, but you know, they make a cherry pie one. I think they make some sugar-free ones, but I've never tried them, so I cannot vouch for whether they're good or not. But this stuff, any of my clients know that we put this stuff in meal plans a lot because it is so good and it tastes like a treat. All right, if you want, you can kind of smooth it out, but I kind of like the chunky topping on the top. We're gonna put this in the fridge for at least 3 hours, and we will be back when they have all set up. So there you go. That is what it looks like when you peel the paper back, and it's got the crust at the bottom. Go ahead, Giacomo, take a bite. Oh, so gross.
So delicious. And it's phenomenal, and it's so good.
So it's almost like a cheesecake custard little bite. And let me get the macros for these. I calculated them up while they were setting. Okay, so the macros on each of these are 112 calories, 3.4 grams of fat, 15.9 grams of carbs, and 4 grams of protein. So this whole thing is 112 calories, which is pretty awesome. Keep them in the fridge. They will soften if they're left out for too long. Hope you guys enjoy them, and happy 4th of July summer cookout awesome fest.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you guys soon.
Later.